Well, hello there guys, welcome back to another video on the Barn Find BMW 520. Now for those that don't know, for those that maybe haven't been watching the channel for a good few years now, I bought this car I think 2 years ago to the month actually, and the story behind it, basically this car was left in a barn for 30 years just completely untouched. Now, I bought the car, I tried to get it started, the engine was seized, turned out that the camshaft was seized into the head. Long story short, I rebuilt the cylinder head, gave the engine a good flush out, and we managed to get this thing running again. Now, not only does it run, but it also drives as well. It's an automatic transmission and it does drive. However though, we have one major problem. It doesn't currently stop. Well, it doesn't stop using its conventional brakes. You can stop it either by jamming it into park using the automatic transmission, which obviously I wouldn't recommend because you're going to end up damaging the transmission, or you can stop it using the parking brake, which is what I've basically been doing while moving it around my property. Now then, before we get into things and before I go into the reason why this thing will not stop, do me a massive favour, hit the thumbs up button on this video. It lets me know that you want to see more videos on this car, and it really does help me out more than you would ever know. Now for this video, let's try and hit 500 likes. Come on guys, I know you can do it. Now then, let's get into things. So about a year ago, I attempted to bleed the brakes on this thing, and all was going well until, well, it wasn't. I looked under the car and I noticed that we had a rather large puddle of brake fluid just appearing on the floor. So that's when I knew that we had a pretty bad leak. And it turns out that it was in fact leaking from one of the brake pipes. Now, I can't remember exactly which brake pipe it was now. So as we venture aboard the Titanic, believe it or not though, I do joke about this being rusty. The main structure of the car is actually in really good condition. Obviously this being the rear subframe or axle carrier, whatever you want to call it. This is all just surface rust. This will clean up like new. The actual chassis of the car, you know, all the floor pans and everything, they're actually in really good condition. You wouldn't think it's like this, you know, looking at the car from the outside. It's actually the body panels that really lets it down. But, you know, underneath here, you know, you've still got all the original under sealant or whatever it is. That's all still intact. This would all clean up like new. Now then, I believe I have found the culprit. Ah yes, I'm pretty sure the brake pipe was leaking here. That's why we've got this wet patch here. So obviously you can't see a hole or a break as such, but yeah, I'm fairly sure that's where it failed. So this pipe is, well, it's the longest one in the car. It goes from this little junction box right there, which you have a connector on either side. So the one on that side, that goes to the rear driver's side brake. This one right here goes to the rear passenger side brake. And then you have the connector at the front, that goes all the way to the front of the car. So it goes along here, and it follows basically the same brackets as the fuel pipes along to the front of the car. Now, I have a couple of options when it comes to repairing or replacing this brake pipe. I could attempt to remove that brake pipe fitting from this junction box there and hope that it's not seized into there, which we all know it's going to be seized into there, let's be honest. That fitting's probably just going to disintegrate as we tried to remove it. So I could remove it from there and then follow it all the way down to the front of the car, which, like I said, does follow the fuel pipes. And it goes underneath the wheel arch and then into the engine bay. Just down there, and it then joins this thing right here, which again, it's a bit of a junction box. I'm not actually sure what that is. Some sort of pressure block, I don't know, I'm not actually sure what that is. But yeah, that's where it joins in anyway. So I could try and disconnect it from both ends of that brake pipe and just essentially replace the entire lot, the entire section, or I could cut it just before it's failed and then essentially just after it's failed and then splice in a new section. I'm not really sure at this stage. I'd imagine the latter of the two choices would probably be the easiest, but then would we, you know, be chasing brake fluid leaks forever? You know, would another section of that pipe then just fail? I mean, ideally I want to replace all the brake pipes on this car because the car's like 46 years old now at this point. Some of them have actually already been replaced. So this is already a copper pipe. I imagine that was replaced at some point in the 90s. The other side, that's still on its original steel pipe. Obviously all the flexes, they all need replacing and all the rest of it, but yeah, for starters, I just want to get some brake fluid in the system. I want to get some brakes working, just so I can, you know, check to see if everything else is working as it should before I go too far with this thing. So I think what I'll do is, I mean, I've got nothing to lose at this point. I may as well see if I can get this original brake pipe out of these brackets, or it'd be a shame, because if these brackets break and then all the fuel pipes are going to be dangling down, then I mean, I can always get new brackets, I suppose. But yeah, I think what I'll do is I'll try and remove this brake pipe from the front, from that fitting, and then essentially hot wire a new brake pipe. So I'll just leave this one where it is for the time being at least, and then get a new one in place and try and fit it to that fitting at the back. Like I said, I think that's probably going to snap and it's going to be an absolute nightmare to remove, but I guess, you know, we'll see what happens. Okay, so I've made some progress and I think I now have a plan. So I've decided pretty much to just replace all of the rear brake lines. So the steel pipes that go from the rear drum brakes to that center splitter, I'm going to replace all those, the two flexi hoses as well, and I've decided that I'm going to be replacing the entire brake pipe that goes from the rear of the car all the way to the front. As you can see, I pretty much now have it removed, so it was well and truly seized onto here. So what I essentially done was just cut the brake pipe, and then I used a deep 11mm socket, this, and what do you know, it actually cracked loose. I thought it was just going to break off and I'd have to end up removing this, you know, drilling that thread out and then re-tapping it. But yeah, I got lucky, managed to remove it. So essentially now, I mean, I do have two options. I could actually just put a bolt in there and basically don't run any rear brakes. I mean, it's only drum brakes on the rear anyway. The fronts are disc brakes, they should be somewhat decent. And yeah, I could just run with no rear brakes, but I don't think I will do that. I think it's, you know, only right that, you know, especially if I do want to take this thing on a main road, maybe even on a motorway, probably a good idea to have both front and rear brakes. So yeah, I'm basically going to run a brake pipe going from there all the way to the rear. I need to get that splitter block removed as well underneath the car. It is now loose. I've removed the bolt that holds it in place, but obviously I'm not going to get those brake pipes off there as is, so I think I'm probably just gonna, I don't know, cut the brake pipe somewhere again on the other side and just kind of pull it all out and then remove it. Remove those pipes from there once it's off the car. It'll be much easier then, and get it in a vise and then get some I'll get a socket over them, can't I? But yeah, that's the plan. We're looking good. Had to break some of the clips, which is a shame, but like I said, I can always replace them if I really want to. But yeah, it's just as well really that I did replace the entire section rather than just patching it in, because I've noticed as I kind of pulled it down, it started dripping from some of the points. So yeah, probably wouldn't have been long before they just rusted through on their own. So yeah, we're making progress, but yeah, it's very, very rusty, so it just requires a bit of patience under here. So, old rusted rear brake pipe removed, kind of just came apart in multiple pieces. It's ready for the bin. This part though, of course, you need to keep. I'll just get this on a bench, probably heat it up, and try and remove these pipes from here so we can reuse this. I'd imagine this is aluminium, but yeah, pretty well stuck. There's no way you're going to remove those while it's on the car, and this is above the diff, bear in mind. Yeah, let's see how we get on. So no point even trying to remove these with a regular spanner or wrench. May as well just use a socket on them. So I'm just going to cut them short. You can now get an impact wrench and a socket over here now, but I do just want to try and heat it up first, just to give us any chance of not snapping it. There we go. See what happens. Yep, it's done the trick. That's the old brake pipe removed. Basically just got to do the same on those other two now. Two out of three. Three out of three. Get in there. And that means we can reuse this piece. Just give it a bit of a clean up and it'll be ready to go again. So I've given that junction block a bit of a clean up, and it's not aluminium, I think it's brass. But yeah, it's cleaned up quite nice. I'm just going to get my new copper brake pipe. Well, it's not 100% copper, I think it's like 90% copper, a little bit of zinc, then a little bit of iron. I'm not too sure the exact amount, but yeah, have a good reel of it here, should be more than enough. I've already flared the one end of the pipe. I'll show you exactly how I do it when I do another section of it. Obviously fitting already on. I'm going to get this on the car and install it into the engine bay side. So I've been making some pretty good progress. I've installed brand new brake pipe from the front here. It goes down there underneath the wheel arch, and then it follows all of the factory mounting points towards the back of the car. It then goes to the rear axle, over the top of the prop shaft to where it meets on the top of the rear diff. Now I've also replaced this side brake pipe. Obviously the one on the other side that had already been replaced at some point, so I'm happy to use that one. I've also installed a new rubber flexi hose on this side. Still need to do the same on the other side as well, so that will go into there like so. Now all I need to do is create a small piece of copper line that goes from there to that center splitter on top of the diff there, and that's this side all completely done. It'll be something like this, something like that. May have to trim it down slightly, but I think I'm going to get the one side fitting installed first, flare it up, and then see how much I've left to play with. But just need to create a small brake pipe for this side, same for the other side, and then that is all of the rear brake pipes then replaced. I apologise for not recording really any of this. I've kind of just cracked on, but as you can probably imagine, it's very tight into here. I can't hold a camera as well as trying to, you know, bend brake pipes and the like, but I think you can appreciate what I've done anyway. Now let me show you how I've been flaring these brake pipes to ensure that the fitting stays in place. So I'm sure there's a number of different brake pipe flaring kits you can get out here. This is just the one I have. It wasn't very expensive. Comes with this brake pipe holder, I guess you'd call it, and there's a number of different sizes. Obviously you'll know what size brake pipe you use. I guess this is for 5/8, although I don't know what's 5/8 because this isn't 5/8 of an inch. So yeah, basically this goes through here anyway, and we're going to do this side first, and essentially you'll have the flaring stub, I don't know what you'd call it, itself, and yeah, you have to find the correct one that fits into the brake pipe. In our case it's 3/16, and basically you want to lock the brake pipe in place so that there is enough clearance for the thickness of this stub. So I'm just going to put that side by side. Yeah, that's good, and then we're going to tighten these jaws up. Now it's a lot easier doing this when it's in a vise. Obviously some of those fittings I had to do while the pipe was on the car, and it's a lot more difficult to do then. You have to get these clamps quite tight, so I did have to use some vice grips just to tighten them up, because I found that if this pipe was too loose, when you go to do the flare it will just push the pipe through. But it should be good with that. We'll just check we have enough thickness, which we do, and now basically all you do is insert this into the end of the pipe like so, and then we get this tool, which is basically just a press, and we slide it on over. Now the claws on the back, they obviously push against this, don't know what you call it, but yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory really. You just wind this in, and you'll see the finished result at the end, but you just keep going all the way until it reaches the end, and then you back it off, remove this, remove your stub, and that's one flare done. So we'll loosen this up. And then remove the pipe. There we go, it's the flare done. Now, it's definitely not the neatest of jobs. It's kind of a bit skew with, but it's gonna work. I'd imagine anyway, once you tighten the fitting down, it will kind of find its own shape to a degree. But yeah, I'm happy with that, it's good enough to go. Obviously, if you are doing this on the car and you already have the other end attached, then make sure you have your fitting already installed. You don't want to flare it and then have no way of installing your fitting. But obviously, because we have access to both ends, we can just push this on. There we are, that's the fitting in place, and that should create a nice tight seal. Well, we'll now take this to the car and see if we need to take any more length off. If we're good, then we can just go ahead, put another fitting on, and then flare the other side, and we can get this thing fitted then. So yeah, fitting in place, obviously just loosely, but we can see we have too much length, so I'm just going to take a little bit off this end and then install the fitting and then get that end flared. And just like that, that is that brake pipe replaced. We've tightened down all of the fittings. That is this side fully done. Now I just need to do the exact same on the other side. And that should be this side done as well. New brake line, new brake hose, new securing clip as well. The old one's just kind of rusted away. But yeah, that should be fresh copper lines to the rear brakes on both sides now. Let's see if we can get these rear brakes bled and hope that we don't lose any fluid anywhere along the line. So then, will this barn find BMW accept brake fluid for the first time in 30 years and not spit it all over the floor? I'm going to be completely honest, this pressure bleeder isn't the best. It leaks air out of one of the seals, so you can't really get up to 20 psi, which is what you should really pump a brake system up to. But if we can get somewhere close, put some pressure in the system, put some fluid in the system, then hopefully we can identify if there is any current leaks, which I would be surprised if there wasn't, as I've just replaced the whole rear section of the brake line assembly. For the first time, I may add, this is the very first time ever replacing brake pipes. And I was going to say, I don't think I've done a bad job, but I guess the proof will be in the pudding now. We'll see what happens once I pump some fluid in. Yeah, air is definitely escaping this pressure bleeder. Let's just keep pumping in. And it's not leaking from that little separator valve at the front here. Right, that's probably all the pressure we're going to get in. Let's have a look around the car. Right. Oh no, you can see leaks already. Oh no. Where's this leak from? So there's one leak from that connection. It's a small leak. So we have some pretty big leaks here though. Ugh. Ugh. I thought I tightened these well up, so that one's leaking, and so it's leaking there, I'm guessing. Let's see if we can get those tightened up. See what I mean about speaking too soon? I hope I can just get them tightened up and all will be good. I don't know what the problem is. I've probably spent 3 or 4 days on this car now, and realistically we're still no further forward with it. So those brake pipes that were leaking are still leaking. I don't know what the issue is. I thought, oh, maybe it's just, you know, I didn't tighten up the fittings enough. And oh, bear in mind I have removed this clip for those that are wondering where it's gone. Yeah, I thought, oh, I'll just try and tighten up. I'll just try and tighten them up, and I tightened them up really tight, and then they just started spinning. You think they're going to be tight, and then they just start spinning. You're thinking, wow, you've stripped the threads. No, I haven't stripped the threads. I've checked the threads, they're all fine. I've done them as tight as they can go, and they still seem to leak. I don't know what the issue is. I've even remade both this pipe and this pipe, you know, done new flares on them. I've filed them down, made sure they're nice and smooth, and it's still not sealing from the hard copper pipe to this rubber brake hose. Seems to seal absolutely fine in the brass fitting and in the drum brakes themselves. There's absolutely no leaks from there. I just don't know why it's not sealing from the hard line to the brake hose. It's on both sides as well, both fittings. So frustrating, and I just can't spend any more time on it at the moment. I've got other things that really need to get done, but it feels like we're so close, but yet so far. I think what I'm going to do just to get this thing driving is what I said I could have done in the beginning, and yeah, something that I didn't want to do, but I'll show you right now. I think I'm just going to remove that brake pipe from there, put a bolt in it, and then just run front brakes essentially. So front of the car now up in the air. Like I said, just removed the rear brake line, just inserted an M10 bolt. That seems to be sealing nicely. I've pumped that up, seems to be no leaks from there. Now on these front calipers there appears to be 3 bleed screws, one there, and then one on the inside as well. Now I can only assume that we start with the lowest one first. Now these two are pretty parallel, so I mean, I guess we start on the outside first, and then that one, and then that one. It's only a guess. I mean, I'm not trying to bleed these brakes perfect. We just want to get some brake pressure. We just want to be able to stop, essentially. But yeah, the brakes themselves are not seized. Obviously they're very rusty, but this will, well, most of this will just clean off as soon as we start braking. But yeah, you can see the pad in there is just loose, just because there's no pressure on the piston. Hopefully that piston's not seized though. That would be another problem. I mean, eventually I'm expecting to have to rebuild the whole entire brake system, obviously, because it's all been sitting for 30 years or so. But yeah, if we can just get just a little bit of brake pressure, 10%, that's all I'm asking, just so we can stop without having to pull up the parking brake or jam it into park. That would just be absolutely fantastic. But yeah, just going to, well actually I need to make sure I can crack off all these bleed screws first, I guess. I'm going to apply some heat to these because, yeah, I don't want to be snapping these. That would just be another world of pain. So yeah, I'll get cracking with cracking these off, and then we'll build up some pressure, and start bleeding. Okay, so when it comes to releasing really any type of bleeder screw, whether the car is, you know, 30 years old, 40 years old, or if it's even, you know, just 5 or 10 years old, it's good practice just to crack the bleeder screw with a socket rather than just going with, you know, a spanner, because if it is seizing there, if it is quite tight, you're just going to end up rounding the nut, and then you're going to have to end up either drilling it out or using some vice grips or something. Now these appear to be a 7mm socket. Yeah, that's going to hammer on nicely there. So once I can get some heat into these, I will try and crack them free with a socket, because like I said, if I was just to go straight on there with a spanner, that's gonna round straight off. Now, wish me luck. It's either gonna, yeah, it's done it. Tell you what, as far as, you know, rusty bolts and fittings and things on this car, there really hasn't been a whole lot. I mean, that can definitely do being cleaned up. But yeah, I've actually been very lucky with rusty bolts and things. Things appear to be relatively free. Right, so I may as well just try and remove all of these before I attempt to start bleeding them. Okay, that's all 3 bleeder screws removed from this side. That's a bit of success then. Just going to get them all cleaned up a little bit before I reinstall them and then begin bleeding. The brakes, that is, not myself. There we go, that's a bit better, isn't it? Gave them all a good clean through as well. All nice and clean on the inside. Okay, so I think I'm actually going to start on the inside bleeder screw. I don't know why, but it seems to make more sense to do this rather than that. Like I said, there's probably an official order that you're supposed to do things, but I haven't really bothered to do much research at this point. But yes, get some pressure into the pressure bleeder and see if we have any fluid coming out. There's nothing coming out of that. Water should be pouring out onto the floor right now. Did I just say water? Brake fluid, not water. We must have a blockage. That's not great. Not as simple as it, well, not as simple as I wish it would have been, I guess. I'm going to guess we have rust somewhere in the lines, because yeah, I've pumped the pressure bleeder up to 20 psi and we're not even getting a drop out of there, so the line somewhere must be completely blocked. I'm just gonna try and do this side as well, see if we have anything coming out of that side. So then on this side, slightly different story, but still not that great. So I removed the original bleeder screws and it started dripping down, and so I thought I'd just remove them all completely, pump the pressure bleeder, and then the fluid just stops. So yeah, we have some sort of blockage on this side as well, and I thought, like I said, I'm probably going to have to replace the entire brake system, all the brake lines, the rubber hoses, calipers and all the rest of it, but I thought may as well try one last trick just to see if I can clear the block lines. And all I've done is just removed one of the hard lines off of the master cylinder, and basically I'm just going to blow some compressed air through. Now this goes through to that side, so there's 2 brake pipes that goes to either side. This is one of them that goes to that side. I'm just going to blow some compressed air through, see if there's any difference. Now this in theory should clear any blockages because it's like what, 120 psi or so. Now, there's a good chance it's also going to blow out the seals on the caliper as well, but like I said, at this point I don't have anything to lose. Let's see what happens. It's quite difficult to get a tight seal on here, but anything come out? I don't think so, did it? Yeah, no good. And then I'm gonna park this car for another while. I do desperately want to get this thing driving on the road, but of course we need a way of stopping first. I think we're going to have to replace the whole brake system. We're going to need 2 new calipers. May as well do discs and pads. May as well do new drums and brake shoes and all the rest of it. I don't know how much that's going to cost, but it's probably going to be pretty cheap actually. I'd imagine parts are pretty cheap for this car, but I just kind of wanted to at least see some progress, which we haven't really done. We're basically at the same point as where we started like 4 days ago, so it's a bit demoralizing, but it's one of them. Things don't always go to plan, do they? Right, I suppose we best put the wheels on, get it back on the ground and get this car moved out of the way, because there should be a garage being built here pretty soon, so kind of need this out of the way. Oh well. Okay then guys, so yeah, this video definitely didn't go to plan. The hope for this video was to just have me sailing off into the sunset, have the car running, driving, and most importantly stopping. Obviously that wasn't the case. It needs big work, that car does. I think it's gonna need like a good amount of time spent on it. Like I said, you're gonna have to replace all the braking system on it, discs, pads, drums, brake shoes, all the lines, hoses, probably the master cylinder as well, if that's any good, I don't know. But yeah, we need to wait until this garage is built, and then we can properly spend a good amount of time on it and you know, be away from the elements. So yeah, I think I will get onto it. I think I do want to save this car. I've owned it now for like 2 or 3 years, I think. Yeah, it's a good amount of time I've owned it. But yeah, let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Am I crazy, you know, keeping this car and trying to get it back onto the road, or should I just get rid of it and cut my losses? But yeah, I'm going to wrap this one up anyway. Like I said, not been the result I wanted, but it is what it is. It's part of working on old cars, I suppose. But anyway, I want to thank you all for watching. Give this video a like, leave a comment down below, subscribe if you have not already done so, and I will see you all in that next one.